Both aircraft and surface vessels will be dropping these passive sono buoys, they're called. So they sort of drop into the ocean relatively shallow, and they sort of try and listen to any sound, some acoustic noise, basically, coming from around that area. So the idea is if something does make a noise and there's a network of these, you can then triangulate from the direction for where the sound wave's coming from to pinpoint that source, much like you would find where the earthquake started, for example. So they're sort of a passive method, and they generally will listen to that wave. Obviously, the sound comes from a source, but obviously the stronger the source, the longer the wave, the sound waves come from. So again, they don't generally come from super deep in those, which is why they've suggested it might be coming from a shallow source. Right. Of course, it could be coming from, a search vessel, for example, giving that sort of that noise as well. So we can't be definitive at this stage.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that. We can't even be certain that it's the submersible making that noise, which is clearly very, very worrying. But if it is nearer the surface, that must indicate some mild or cause for mild optimism. What do you think?
Yes, I mean, it's better than not having any noise, isn't it? So something that's potentially could be coming from the sub is more positive than not having anything. But as you mentioned, it might have be coming from something else. The fact that the frequency is only every 30 minutes, you imagine a surface or submarine vessel will be having a continual noise from propellers and things like that. So, but it could be an intermittent fault from some other sort of machinery. So it's probably likely man-made, but we're not totally sure where it's coming from, as you see from the reports given.
Do you think that people just wildly underestimate the danger of exploration of this nature?
Yeah, it's difficult, I think, as I'm a scientist, so I'm quite evidence-based, but I guess there are always people trying to push the envelope and, see new things, I guess. And, it's a very, very rarely visited site. So I guess, if you had the resources and wanted to see it, that's probably one of the drivers to go.
Actually, just really briefly, if you don't mind, can you just explain what forensic geoscience is?
Yeah, so I do a lot of search. I search for things, so searching for missing people, objects, less exciting stuff like people dropping waste, things like that. So that's my area. So I do lots of outdoor, on land and water searches as well.
Right. It does seem to be a colossal operation, this, involving at least two international organisations and presumably lots of people, to some degree, putting their own lives at risk. How much longer do you think it could continue?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they've got that time window of their estimated oxygen supply, haven't they? And that's really ticking down now, sadly. So, and the longer you search without finding people or what you're looking for, in this case, the less chances of being successful are. So, as you've been seeing, they're using all the resources they have, and people kindly volunteering time, effort, resources, materials to that search. But it is a very difficult search to do in that water depth. In the bottom of an uncharted ocean floor, which may not be flat, it might be quite rugged. It's more rugged, the ocean floor, than the above sea level. Of course, it might be, things in canyons. And of course, you've got the debris field of the Titanic itself, so you might be able to find objects on the ocean floor, but it might just be from the Titanic rather than the sub, because the sub is so small. You think it's going to be a very large submarine, but it's like a small van size, so that's a really small target. I think someone's mentioned it was trying to find a mine in a minefield. It might be a good analogy.
Yeah, that's a very good analogy. And in terms of what you say you've done over the years, finding things, have you ever found anything in a situation even vaguely like this, in terms of the odds, as you describe, of looking for something minute in a vast, vast space?
Yeah. Yeah, as I say, the easy searches, people get found and recovered, don't they? And you could say the Emiliana Sala case, where the footballers in the aircraft crashed in the English Channel. They managed to recover the aircraft fairly fast, but that was very shallow water depths, 100 to 200 meters deep in the photic zone, where you could actually see, because sunlight penetrates that far. This one, you're on the bottom of 4,000 meter almost depth of water in a featureless plain, or around a lot of objects. That's a really tough task for anyone to try and find.
So are you somewhat pessimistic, really, if you were going to be a realist?
Yeah,
are they likely to be recovered?
statistically, the first 24 hours of any missing case is key here. It's sort of the golden hours they call it, don't they? So the longer the time elapses, the lower chance of survival. Some people do survive. You see cases where fishermen on sunken vessels survive for days underwater in an air pocket in the vessel. I did think I read that the other month. So it is possible, but it's unlikely at this time.
If you enjoyed that, what should people do?
Well, the best thing would be if you could listen to us on Times Radio, Monday to Thursday, 3 till 5, Jane and Fee.